Good morning and welcome to SimWorld today, a Monday after perhaps the most chaotic day in league history, in which the trade deadline came 3 days early. I am Marsh, joined on a Monday morning by Rick Blaze. Good morning, Rick. How are you?
I'm here on Monday morning. A lot going down. It's time to go down.
A lot going down. Let's start with the biggest one. That was Luka Doncic being dealt under the cover of night to the Los Angeles Lakers, and all that they got back was Anthony Davis, Max Christie, and a 2029 first round pick. It's the deal that if you're the Lakers, it's a no-brainer. If you're the Mavericks, it feels as if the ultimate IDGAF, what's going on if you're the general manager. Rick, your takeaways from the most stunning trade in SWBA history.
Um, I feel like I didn't know Jerry Jones had something to say about the Mavericks basketball organization. This feels like a Jerry Jones Dallas Cowboys move. Like it does make no sense whatsoever for Dallas Mavericks. Let's just talk. First of all, he's your bona fide star on your team. Let's just table basketball for a moment. You receive as an organization so much fanfare, so much hoopla, so much money by having an international star on your team, and you just punt it on all of that. You just say, "No, I'm good on a 25-year-old international star, and I'm good on all that." When your team is not winning games, things like having an international star helps you continue to sell ticket sales and sell seats and sell jerseys. Now I'm punting on all of that. You can say, "Well, maybe Dunches is not available," but you go and trade for a guy who's also not available in Anthony Davis because he's also hurt. I have no idea what Dallas was. The only thing I can think, there's something outside of basketball that the Dallas Mavericks may know about Doncic that we don't know. That's the only way I can see this making sense. Because this, on face value, on a basketball level, on a marketing level, and on a winning level, this does not make sense to me. For the Lakers, it doesn't move the needle for them, I don't think, as far as winning the championship, but it does set them up for a future, saying that we have our star ready for the next 10 years. We don't have to go find him once LeBron James is done playing basketball. Makes sense for the Lakers. I don't think it puts them in championship contention because now you have LeBron James, then you have a guy who plays like LeBron James and Luka Doncic. I don't know how. I don't think that makes them that much better as a team, but it does have the Lakers looking good for the future.
Well, the Mavericks have said why they made this deal, and I don't think there's some hidden secret now from Dallas after the news conference yesterday, in which Nico Harrison revealed it was a deal crafted and designed between two people and not a full organization on either side. And it's that they were concerned about his conditioning, and they were concerned about giving him a supermax deal because of that conditioning. And that's fine. Those are perfectly fine. There are three things that happened in this deal. One, the Lakers got Luka Doncic. That's fine. I think universally we all agree that's fine. The second thing that happened was the Mavericks saying that they were concerned about that and they wanted to build an all defensive team and build a culture that could win a championship. Now, that's also fine. The problem, and that's the third thing, is that there is no shopping of the second, third best player in the entire league. And so your return is a 32-year-old center slash forward who doesn't actually want to play center, and a 2029 first round pick that now holds next to no value because it's probably going to be a mid to late first round pick, and Max Christie, who is a 3-and-D wing, who's been good, but it's very Jeremy Lamb-like. The challenge with this deal is the idiocy to not make it available league-wide. And I understand, he had said, Nico Harrison, we targeted Anthony Davis. Then you're an idiot for targeting one guy and one guy only to try to build a championship. You are all eggs in the basket of a 31 and a 32-year-old player, both of whom have long injury and dramatic histories. You also said in your press conference that you're worried about 4 to 5 years because 10 years down the road, who knows where we're going to be. Well, actually, if you look at functional organizations, let's use the Golden State Warriors as the most obvious one and the Boston Celtics as another one. Both of them, believe it or not, have had head coaches and general managers in place, or in the case of the Boston Celtics, a head coach that became a general manager, or the San Antonio Spurs who had the same head coach, or the Miami Heat who have the same head coach and the same general manager. They are functional because they said we're going to go get a star and we're going to build around him. And we're not going to deal him away at his pre-prime years because we might be concerned about his conditioning habits. Maybe he's a product of your culture and not a product of himself. And you are an organization that is so hell-bent on controlling every single moment of the guy's life and allowing him to be kind of free running that you have not been able to corral him into what he is. And all of that is fine if you want to deal him. But the idiocy of it is you dealt him to one team and one team only. And what it unfortunately does is it's going to tell every single mid-tier fan, and I'm not saying this in a bad way, but a casual fan, that if you think the SWBA is rigged, you might be right. Because this is how stupid of a trade it is to go to one team, and it just so happens to be the team in the largest market that every single media agency that covers the SWBA wants to talk about ad nauseum, Rick.
And this is the Lakers' MO. I'll say two things. This is Lakers' MO. Every great player the Lakers have ever received, they've gotten via trade. Kobe Bryant was via trade. Shaquille O'Neal was via trade. Dwight Howard was via trade. Paul Gasol was via trade. So this is the Lakers' MO. They get their best players via trade, and they've been doing it for years. On the other side, I will put this in here. I think it's very interesting. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think Mark Cuban owns the
Nope.
majority of the Dallas Mavericks
Minority.
anymore. So this is not a Mark Cuban move. This
Nope.
is a bunch of suits making a decision as a bunch of suits a move. I don't think Mark Cuban pulls the plug if he's in full control of the Dallas Mavericks as he once had. And so I think this is a move made by the suits, which to me as a basketball fan is usually not a good sign because the suits only look at dollars and cents and business and numbers. They don't look at the real thing that basketball players and basketball lovers really enjoy. So we're going to see, but this is terrible, to quote Charles Barkley.
Moving on to more deals, the big three-team deal that followed in the footsteps of the earthquake, and that is De'Aaron Fox to the San Antonio Spurs, Zach LaVine, and 3 firsts, although one of them is Charlotte's this year, which is top 14 protected, so that is certainly not going to be a first to the Sacramento Kings, and a pick back to Chicago Bulls. The big move, obviously, is the Spurs get Fox and the Kings get LaVine. Your thoughts, Rick?
Great move by the San Antonio Spurs. They get a guard that they can build with for the future. It's a good two-man combo with him and Wembanyama. It does move Chris Paul to the bench, which is not a bad thing. Chris Paul's a little bit long in the tooth. Great move for the Spurs. For the Sacramento Kings, I still don't understand this move. This move tells me there's another move coming because the Sacramento Kings now have 3 shooting guards on their team. They got Monk, they have DeMar DeRozan, and now you have Zach LaVine. You're not playing all 3 of those guys at one time. So that tells me either Monk or DeRozan is on their way out. At least that's what common sense would tell me because I don't see you keeping all 3 of these guys because they all play the same position. They all play similar styles. So for the Sacramento Kings, I'm assuming this is the beginning of something else that they're doing because those 3 guys on the same team doesn't make much sense to me, but good get for the Spurs.
I actually think it makes a ton of sense if you're the Sacramento Kings. You were going to lose De'Aaron Fox. You wanted to get something back for him. You already paid DeMar DeRozan, and you've already paid Domantas Sabonis, both of whom in the Sabonis deal, it's a long-term deal, and DeMar DeRozan is not a one-year deal. And you're sitting there at 24 and 24 in the play-in race right now, and you're saying we have been completely irrelevant for 2 decades. And now, over the last 2 years, we are a number 3 seed and a play-in team. And we are relevant. And so if you're the Sacramento Kings, what you're doing is saying, we want to stay relevant. We don't want to retool. You have the optionality for both LaVine and DeMar DeRozan if this doesn't pan out over the next couple of seasons because they're still under contract, and Sabonis, to deal them again and get more assets back. I talked about that late last night in an emergency pod with Rico as we talked through the deal. But you are staying relevant. And if I'm the Sacramento Kings, I really don't hate this deal much at all. Because you are now in a position to continue to be a team that's going to get people in the seats that are coming to Sacramento to watch their team play. You are not watching a team tanking for a number one pick and inevitably missing out on it. You are a team that is going to be playing meaningful basketball. Now, we can argue here on the level of meaning, but meaningful basketball come March and potentially into early April or into late April. That matters, and I think that is a fact that should not be lost in a league that is constantly chasing championships and only highlights championships. Sacramento is chasing relevancy, and they are chasing basketball and potential postseason basketball every single season. And I think that's honestly not a bad way to go. You know you're probably not winning a championship with this team. I don't think there's a problem. You're not winning a championship with this team. You might not win a playoff series with this team. But much like the Washington Wizards when they hung on for dear life with Bradley Beal and John Wall, what you're chasing is a basketball team that come April, come March, is actually mattering, and maybe you can get into the first round, you get a good matchup, and you can make a conference semifinals. And that's probably the ceiling for this team. Yeah, they've got a couple shooting guards, but in a league in which you need shooting and fastly not caring about defense, and the change from Levine from Fox, in my opinion, it doesn't change who this team is much at all. All right, let's go to the last notable thing, and it wasn't even a deal last night, but that was Jimmy Butler telling the Golden State Warriors that he would not sign an extension, and therefore the Golden State Warriors are no longer chasing down Jimmy Butler via trade. Rick, it's shocking, if anything, that Jimmy Butler, who wants out, suddenly has a place to go, and then says no, thank you.
Well, at this point, what's shocking is the fact that we're still talking about Jimmy Butler. I don't.
That's not shocking at all.
I'm convinced now that he may not want to play basketball. I don't think he wants to play. Whenever you get to, it's like having a girl who wants you to commit to her, and you give her all these random ass reasons for why you can't commit, because you really don't want to commit. It's like, all right, if I do commit, it got to be this particular way. It's some asinine agreement that you have to agree to for me to commit, because I really don't want to do this. I don't know how much basketball Jimmy wants to play any longer, because he's acting like he doesn't want to play a game of basketball. Or better yet, he's acting like he's Luka Doncic, or that he's LeBron James, or that he's Kyrie Irving, that he's 25 years old and he can just say what he wants to say, do what he wants to do. He's the best player on the planet. And that is so far from true right now. I don't know what his people are telling him or not telling him, but obviously he's making these decisions on his own, and it doesn't look like he's been smart about those decisions. He's on tennis courts instead of playing basketball games. He's at coffee shops instead of playing basketball games. He's doing everything else instead of playing basketball. So I'm not sure at this point he really wants to play basketball.
He's a beggar and a chooser, and you don't often get to be both. He wants his cake and he wants to eat it too. And you also don't get to often do both. He wants to play in Phoenix, is what he wants. That was the first team that he said that he wanted to play for. It's the team that continues to come up as a team that he wants to play for. And the irony of all this, and I said this also to Rico last night, was he said he wants to play in two places, or he said, excuse me, two teams have expressed interest in wanting to trade for him, Memphis and Golden State. And he's told both of them he doesn't want to play there. I think he's just a chaos agent, and he's relishing in this role of anti-hero. Of, you go back to the days where he wore wigs to his press conferences to start off the season, so that the rest of the media would have to use these shots of him with dreadlocks or straightened hair for the rest of the season, just as a pure comic relief for him. And this has essentially been that. I think this is, you can't garner sympathy for anybody when you do what Jimmy Butler has done. Now, obviously, everything he's done up to this point has been atrocious. But then when you actually have a pathway out the door, and I think, truthfully, Jimmy Butler is saving the Golden State Warriors by this one, because I think trading for him and signing him to an extension is terrible. But this is any shred of respect and sympathy that he would have in the public's eye has to be gone by everybody except those immediately around him, because he's been given everything that he could potentially want. First in Miami when he got there, next with his desire to get out. The Heat, to their credit, have been trying to trade him ever since they said they weren't trying to trade him, which was no surprise at all. But you're Jimmy Butler. The option's there. It's on the table. And you're willingly saying no. You're not going to get anywhere at this point because Bradley Beal's not waiving his no trade clause to go somewhere else unless some team makes a boneheaded decision to decide to bring him in. But apparently, according to everything, Bradley Beal's not going anywhere unless it's a championship contender, and those guys don't need a Bradley Beal and a no trade clause and another $100 million plus sitting on their books for the next 2 years. At this point, Jimmy Butler's it trends more likely that he doesn't play again this season because I can't imagine the Miami Heat would want to sit here and deal with that any longer than they already have, which, to their credit, their patience now seems exceptionally admirable. All right, full day of SWBA, but we did have the SimWorld U top 10 plays of the week. Let's roll the tape and get things going here for the top 10 plays of the week. We're starting with some 3-point deep range action here at our number 10 spot in the top 10. Getting us rolling, and that's Daquan Van Cleve as the step back over top of the USC Trojans for the Utah Utes here at number 10.
Number 9, we have one of the James brothers, Benari James, taking it coast to coast, doing it all for his team. You watch this right here. Hey, look out below, mama. That's a slam.
Darian Banks rolling in at our number 8 play of the week. Rising high here for Memphis on the road against Jackson State. Rise Fire Slam.
Numero 7. Yes, I know Spanish. We're going to Purdue. My man from Virginia Tech, Nudie, get off my cocks, showing you what time it is with the move, the razzle dazzle, and the yam.
Kansas State pulled the upset against Kansas. That got him into the top 25. Part of that due to John Michael Akumu rising up after a little bit of a shimmy from the free throw line in the victory.
And at number 5, we have a shooter on the roof. Sean Chapman is going to show you what he does. Shot between the legs, pull back. Look at the fade off one leg. Swish, baby.
TJ Childs has had an up-and-down season, coming in at number 4, though. It's all stepping back on the road against Kentucky as part of an upset win over then number 1 Kentucky Wildcats. DJ Childs, the step back, loses the defender, stumbling, bumbling out of bounds.
At number 3, we're going to go and Duke Cameron where it gets crazy. Speaking of crazy, watch my man Sean Hyman go crazy right here. Watch this. Don't try that at home, folks. That's the real deal.
Hey, things haven't been great for Temple, but AJ Frost says I can at least do a couple things here for you on the road against SMU. Late in the game, needing a win, and it's AJ Frost for all of it. Hey.
And at number 1 in the hood, G, we gotta go. No place I'd rather be than in Miami with Dominique Bianco taking it down the middle of the lane. Is that who I think it is? Yes, it is. Put your flags down. Dominique Bianco rises on the elevator to the 7th floor and left Cooper Flag on the 5th floor. Men's wear.
That is our SimWorld U top 10 plays of the week. 3 games in SimWorld U action tonight, all local broadcast: Duke, Wake Forest, Iowa, Maryland, Illinois, and Rutgers. Tomorrow we get back with Florida and South Carolina at 6:30 p.m. And our game of the week, an American action going down on Wednesday, Princeton and Memphis. Princeton moving up into the top 16 as they make their continued impressive run. They'll be tested against the top 15 Memphis squad on the road. That's Wednesday at 8 p.m. Eastern. All of that coming to you here on SimWorld TV YouTube channel and, of course, on Broadcast Games. All right, Rick, great to see you. We'll be back tomorrow with you to talk some SimWorld U and continued potentially trade action in SWBA. We will find out. Thank you all for tuning in here on SimWorld TV, the only place you can see the game, be the game.
This has been a presentation of SimWorld.